Rolling.
To quote my wife's favorite author, Panache Desai, he always starts his conversations out by saying, sweet friends, or my sweet friends. And I think I like that because he talks about it as a double positive. One is he's saying you're sweet, and then he's saying I'm a friend of something that's sweet. So it's beneficial for both people. So I will start out that way. I'm going to ask you a question, my sweet friends. Can one muscle be responsible for your back pain, your sciatica, herniated disc, spinal stenosis, spondylolisthesis? Could it be responsible for you being unstable or unable to go in and out of bed, in and out of the bathroom, in and out of the car, walking faster, walking up and down steps? Could one muscle be responsible for that? The answer is yes. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you. This is both a test and an exercise. So the test is stand with your feet together, heels touching, toes apart, like this. Contract your muscles, contract your glutes, and literally squeeze them with your hands to feel the contraction. So just squeeze your glutes, literally and figuratively, to feel the contraction. Most people have a really good contraction when they do this. That's number one. The test comes in this part. So we toe our toes inward, straighten our knees, stand up straight, and now try and contract your glutes. Contract them and literally put your hands on your glutes as you contract them. In most cases, people think that it's harder to do. And they are correct. It is harder to do, in part because your muscles that aren't used literally become inhibited. Meaning that if you don't need to use them, your brain says, well, if he's not using them, let's just put them to sleep. So in a sense, they become weaker. But more than weaker, they also become imbalanced. Now, having imbalances in your system is far worse than just being weak, because imbalances gives you a false sense of security. Imbalances are what creates risk in people for falls. Imbalances are what causes people to think they're okay, and they go throughout their life when the muscle isn't quite strong enough, but is strong enough, and they have this abnormal wear and tear, much the way a tire on a car would wear abnormally. Yeah, they can do it, but they're paying a price as they go through their life. Let me explain a little further. Your pain is caused by a condition. That condition is caused by what is called a postural dysfunction. That postural dysfunction is caused by a muscle imbalance. And those muscle imbalances are caused by what are called, or I call, your habits, patterns, postures, and positioning. The things you do all day long, your body accommodates to it. So if you sit all day long, you develop certain types of muscle imbalances. Muscle imbalances are pretty hard to define, so I will describe them. Muscle imbalances can occur between the front and the back, and side to side, or a combination of all of them. And so, for example, the most common muscle imbalance in the body is around the hip. You can have dominantly strong quadriceps compared to weaker hamstrings. Dominantly strong and tight hip flexors compared to your glutes. That is an example of a muscle imbalance. Now, what happens with muscle imbalances is that it allows the pelvis to go into abnormal positions. The pelvis can be tipped forward. The pelvis can be tipped backwards. The pelvis can be tipped forward, and one side can be higher than the other. The pelvis can be tipped backward, and one side can be higher than the other. It also happens in our upper neck, back, and shoulders. When we type, our head comes forward and our shoulders round. Now imagine if this is what we do a majority of our day, and then we want to go and do some activity or some sport, and our muscles are used to being like this, but we force them to work in other ways. That's what causes chronic irritation and a condition to develop. So if you have a pelvis in an abnormal position, the pelvis causes, the abnormal position of the pelvis causes abnormal curvature of the spine. The abnormal curvature of the spine causes abnormal position or layering of the vertebrae when they sit on that. And the abnormal layering of the vertebrae causes disc matter to be either pushed out and touch a nerve and thus cause pain, or it will close out certain spaces like with the stenosis, or in spondylolisthesis, the abnormal position of this or curvature of the spine will cause the vertebrae to be misaligned. They slide over top of each other. That postural dysfunction causes this abnormal situation in the spine, in the vertebrae, that causes the condition that causes pain. So my initial question was, could weakness in one muscle be responsible for all of that? Well, not solely responsible, but majorly responsible. So to fix, I'd almost go and say it's almost like the solution to strengthen your glutes. Look, we're in day whatever of this pandemic. When we come out of this pandemic, the world is going to ask you to do things and be ready to respond in ways that you're not used to doing. So your body and your muscles need to be prepared physically to do things that you haven't normally been doing. We're all just sitting around on the couch doing nothing. Let's take this opportunity to fix some of the underlying root cause issues that are causing our back pain. And I'm going to go over one of them today. So let's just look at just strengthening the glutes. The toed-in glute squeeze is an excellent way to start. There's no movement, there's no kind of risk of injuring anything. But again, all I'm asking you to do is to do it within your tolerance. So the toed-in glute squeeze is the one. You do not need to do the toed out. You're already dominantly strong. That's a great example of an imbalance. You're dominantly strong externally rotation and super weak internal rotation. So again, remember, we're not only just looking to strengthen muscles, we're also looking to correct imbalances. So the toed-in glute squeeze is certainly something that you should be doing all day long. And my bet is that if you did 100 repetitions between now and the time you go to bed, a majority of you will either have much less or no pain at all with either back pain or sciatica. In the case of sciatica, it takes the piriformis muscle out of spasm and relaxes the muscle and takes the irritation off the nerve, and whammo, it's done. Of course, it's done for the day. It's not like you never have to do it again, but I encourage everyone to do the toed-in glute squeeze as often as possible. So let's take a look at some other glute exercises so that we can prepare our bodies when this pandemic is over. The first one is pretty easy. It's a double leg bridge. Hands at the side, bridging up. The next one could become a little bit harder, where we double leg bridge up and then kick a leg out. Double leg bridge up, kick one leg out. We can make that harder by doing the bridge with one leg. Now, if you have a ball, this is the single best exercise on the planet. It helps with glute strength, it helps with hamstring strength, and core stability. I'm only going to do a few because it's going to take me out of breath and I won't be able to talk, but you get the picture. This is just one group of exercises for one specific muscle group. Realize that muscle imbalances that cause postural dysfunctions, there are many. It's a misnomer, it's a myth to say that I'm going to do stretches and exercises for a particular condition or stretches and exercises for a herniated disc. That's not true. There's no such thing as that. There are stretches and exercises to address muscle imbalances that cause postural dysfunctions that cause the herniated disc. So again, remember, we have to look at a root cause level, and if we can correct them from a root cause level, you can have the condition and have much less pain or no pain at all. So I've only gone over one set of exercises for glutes. There's a bit deeper understanding that you have to have with postural dysfunctions, because you can have some muscles that are weak and some muscles that are tight. And you have to know which muscles to stretch and which muscles to strengthen. In the link below, there's an article that describes the entire process. So, until next time, take care, be safe, make sure that you're eating fruits and vegetables, drinking adequate water, and remember, this is more of a maintenance situation. This is something that you'll have to do forever. It's much like brushing your teeth. You only have to brush the teeth you want to keep. And if you want to keep them all, you have to brush them all. So click on the link below if you want more information. And until next time, take care.